Hello again, my friends. Time for another video. All right, so in this video, sorry, my nose itches. I want to talk about how to develop confidence. It's a tricky one. Now, basically, I used to be a very, very unconfident person, very insecure, very emotionally unstable in terms of how I'll treat people. If I was upset about something, I'd quite often kind of explode and just have a go at them over things that may or may not have been their fault, but it's your actions are always a reflection of who you are and the way that you handle things. So when it comes to self-confidence, I think it really just comes down to just separating yourself from the stigmas or the beliefs or the commonly held status quo of what you should do in life. We're kind of brought into this reality, and we all have like a very important purpose that we're meant to do. We all have our own unique desires and, methods of fulfillment, our own goals, our own dreams. And quite often I think that, a lack of confidence really comes down to trying to fit into a mold that is not designed for you. And, when it comes to growing up and all these things that we do, like, we're told that we have to behave a certain way, we have to fit into the structure of whatever society we live in a certain way. We're meant to work doing certain things, and it's quite often thrown upon us that it's too difficult, or it's impossible to achieve these large scale dreams that we may have. But personally, I think the thing that gave me the most confidence in my life was obviously a lot of, say obviously as if it's obvious, but one of the main things was unlearning a lot of the lessons that I had learned, or unlearning a lot of the beliefs that I had developed through growing up that had been taught to me by people who weren't in the position that I wanted to be in. So, I think that's a good starting point, just as a general rule of thumb, is that, we all get born and incarnate into this reality. I think that something that's really important is that no one knows you better than yourself. No one knows how to achieve the goals that you want to achieve better than yourself, or at least have the ability to figure that out for yourself, because you are your own individual. You have your own set desires and dreams. Don't look at what other people are doing when they're not doing what you want to do. Of course, there are people who have similar goals in your life. For example, you want to be a successful musician. You will want to look to other successful musicians for advice, or for mentoring, or just or inspiration. But on that journey, they're creating, or they're achieving what they're doing through creating their own art. So you're not going to look to them for how to create your own art. That is your own specific journey. And the more that you follow your own specific journey, is the more fulfillment you're going to have. And so everything, in my opinion, really comes down to fulfillment, which comes down to the soul nourishing activities that you're doing. It means setting up goals and like setting up dreams and goals and how to achieve them. Because I always found that, with anyone that I know, or anyone who's asked me for advice, or just in my own life in general, the things that, always led me to being the least happy or the most unconfident in my life was having a lack of direction in where I was going. But once you figure out where you want to go and you break those beliefs of not being able to achieve these things, because you definitely can, if you look in terms of just the scale of time and effort that it would actually take. Like, there are people who get into significantly high-paying, rewarding jobs just from being in college or out of high school for like a number of years. Like, people achieve significant things at quite young ages, and even without having a very developed understanding of the way that the world works, and they achieve these magnificent things. As an adult, or as someone who is more developed than that, like, you're going to live until you're 80, 90, 100 years old. And people are hitting their 30s or even their late 20s, and they're giving up on trying to chase these dreams for some reason, because they feel like they've lost the time, or they've run out of time to do it, or they're entering it too late. Whereas that's not true. Like, if you're an adult, the ability and the cognitive abilities that you have to achieve the things that you want are significantly more developed than those who have achieved them at a younger age as well. So don't ever like think that you can't get what you want, you can't achieve these goals or these desires that you have, because it's absolute nonsense. The older you get, the more power you have in achieving these kind of things. So not to diverge onto that, but I just wanted to kind of drill that in, that you can achieve anything that you want at any age that you started off at. And the more wise you become, the more ability to succeed that you have, the more financial ability that you have. So again, something that will give you a lot of confidence is figuring out where you need to end up. Even for myself recently, like I've been on this journey for a long time, but even recently I was thinking about, when I was a teenager, and, that 17-year-old age where, you're still living with your parents, you're still at school, you're still kind of not quite able to do what you want in life, but you know that you're going to be that legal age to go and drive and get a job and achieve the dreams that you want to achieve in a very short amount of time. And that rush of excitement and power that you feel within you for all these desires that you have, tapping back into that energy of who I was at that age, the younger version of my current self, really kind of taught me a lot about who I should be trying to be, because I had a very vivid idea of who I wanted to be when I was, 25, 30, 35 years old. And being 30 years old now, I kind of look back and I've achieved a lot more than I thought that I would when I was that age, but I've also developed in very different ways than I thought that I would. But, tapping back into that can be kind of helpful. Even look at who you wanted to become at a younger age, because when you were younger and you were, thinking about these dreams and the excitement of the things that you were learning, you were involving yourself in different sports or arts or any creative endeavor, the things that spoke to you were a lot more honest than the things that speak to you as an adult when you have a lot of the responsibilities that come on, and a lot more of these learnt behaviors of limitations. So tap into that younger version of yourself, that excited version of yourself, the version of yourself that didn't see an issue with trying to achieve things, and start forming an idea of where you want to end up. Because as I said, confidence really, in my opinion, comes down to being true to yourself and following that dream and following the desires that you always want. Because as you become more of an individual, there will be times where you do feel, say, like lonely or separated or, kind of exiled from the normal people that are out there. But you'll find yourself with a lot more peace knowing that you're on your individual tailor-made journey. And once you have an idea of where you want to end up, there's a thing that happens where, when you meditate upon it, when you write about it, when you start to actually involve yourself in the process of achieving that thing, the excitement and the fulfillment that you feel from chasing those goals will give you a rush, and it will, it'll ignite the cells within your body in a way that, sticking to whatever plan anyone else has kind of tried to teach you to do doesn't do for you. And as you start to pursue these soul nourishing endeavors that you've come up with that speak to you, you'll start to realize that a lot of the things that you used to do, say maybe it be like drinking or partying on the weekends, or hanging out with certain people for the sake of socializing and not wanting to miss out, you'll find yourself withdrawing from a lot of these activities because you've figured out the thing that you want to do. And the more you follow this thing that you want to do, the more you'll learn about yourself, the more inward you'll become, the more centered you'll become. And your confidence will grow because you know that you're walking along the path that has been designed for you in that kind of like larger than life sense. So once you have this idea and you're doing these soul nourishing activities, the things that aren't serving you will not matter to you anymore. You're not going to worry about what people think about you. You're not going to worry about those, the friends that aren't contributing to your happiness or your joy or even your excitement or even care about this dream that you're after. you're going to have a set curriculum or a set idea of where you want to end up and how to get there. And it helps you not be distracted by all the option paralysis of the reality that you're in. And, for example, like with myself, I got to a point where I was in a very bad place for a very long time. I was very unhealthy. I was very sick all the time, no money, very insecure, didn't have a lot of self-worth or self-confidence or feel anything really moving for me. But the moment I kind of properly sat down and thought, okay, what were the things that I want to do and what are the things that I want to do now? It was all involved with not so much just creating music, and it wasn't so much just about the artistic side of things, but it was also about how I looked, the way I treated people. I ended up getting a lot more deep into spirituality and, psychic development, spiritual development, all of these sorts of areas, and began to design a goal that I wanted, which was to combine the teachings of spiritual philosophies along with creativity, along with masculine, or I don't like to say divine masculine, but masculine health of being a healthy male, taking care of yourself, exercising, doing martial arts, becoming physically capable, along with mixing that with the psychic or the feminine or the emotional side of things, of becoming emotionally capable, psychically capable, spiritually capable, and combining all these things together in also of the pursuit of trying to develop, a brand of doing that. And, once I kind of developed that, along with the concept of, wanting to be able to raise a healthy family with good values and good morals, and, have children who are be able to, to give them the opportunity to create themselves and express themselves in the way that they need to in a healthy manner. Once I created that blueprint of what I wanted, then all of the things that weren't serving that, so the partying, the unhealthy friends, drinking, drugs, drama, being around the wrong people, working a job that's not serving towards me achieving the things that I want, all of those things no longer served me. And so I was able to just push them away. The people who were involved in those activities also, revealed themselves, or I was able to view them from a different perspective, because, majority of the people who were involved with that were lost in themselves. They weren't chasing their higher selves. They weren't chasing their dreams. They were simply just distracting themselves from the fact that they weren't doing anything with their lives. And so a lot of our confidence or our insecurities come from the views of others, or worrying about how other people view us. But when you, again, have the blueprint of what you're after, and you start chasing that, and you start feeling more yourself, the intrinsic confidence will come, but also the confidence in the fact that, you're not going to view the opinions of these other people with as much value, because they're not in a position that you care about. You're going to value the opinion of the people who are actually chasing their dreams, and the people who are chasing their dreams are not going to view you in a negative light. They're going to see what you're doing. They're going to see that you're also walking a path that they once walked down and that they're further upon, and they're going to help you try to achieve the things that you want to achieve. And when you start finding yourself around these people, once you start surrounding yourself with people who are actually trying to achieve their dreams in life, the confidence that you get from that, and knowing that you have people who truly support you and truly care about you and are there to actually help you and, mentor or guide you or inspire you to becoming the best version of yourself, that's where you'll find the confidence. Along with, a lot of other things like taking care of yourself, because, most successful people, and when I talk about successful people, I'm talking about people who are doing the soul nourishing work, people who are happy and at peace and, projecting that abundance to the people around them. That's what success is. When you find yourself around those successful people, you're going to find yourself becoming more successful. You're going to be inspired by that. You're going to start inspiring people around you. And you'll also find that these people know how to take care of themselves, because a lot of this comes down to self-love. And, self-love involves taking care of yourself, not just physically, but emotionally, because the two are a reflection of one another. The mind creates matter. So if you are feeling depressed and you're feeling anxious and you're not taking care of yourself in a healthy way mentally, you're looking at your phone, you're doom scrolling, you're looking at sad posts and people complain about life and how difficult life is. When you focus upon that and you focus upon the negativities about life, your body is going to respond in a negative way to that. You're going to start getting sick. You're going to start worrying about sickness. You're going to start getting aches and pains and worrying about growing old and believing all of this nonsense that is being projected by these unhealthy people. Whereas if you take care of yourself mentally and you read spiritual books, healthy books, books that are about esoteric healing or holistic health advice, you start looking at people who are exercising, going to the gym, taking up martial arts, going on hikes, pushing their body in a way that is healthy for them, you're going to start having like a feedback loop where your body's going to respond in a really healthy way. When your body's responding well and you're eating well and you're sleeping well because you're at peace and you're not worried about all these things and you're following your dream and your body is in a healthy circadian rhythm that is, healthy, think of a better word to use than healthy, but in a productive way that's for your body, the chemicals in your body are going to be released more healthily, your hormones are going to be released more healthily, and your mind's going to have a lot more clarity, and it's going to be able to identify what's unhealthy for you in a much more magnificent fashion. So your physical health and your emotional health work in tandem with one another, and it's important to take care of both of them. So to kind of like recap what I've said here is, don't value the opinions of people who aren't achieving the things that you want to achieve, or at least like walking the path that, they want to be on. Surround yourself by people who are chasing their dreams, who are artistic people, who are chasing those things that they want to do in their lives. Take care of yourself physically. So that means try and sleep well, try and eat well, exercise, work on your physical body. Take care of yourself mentally, which means, don't read unhealthy stuff. If you're on your phone and you have friends who are posting negative stuff all the time, even if it's in a joke format, stop following it. Start following people who are inspiring to you, artists or, businessmen or businesswomen who are actually achieving the things that you want to achieve. Start surrounding yourself, not just physically, but digitally and emotionally, in an environment that is inspiring to you, so it helps you get to that place. And again, separate yourself from the people who aren't serving you. Surround yourself with healthier people. And if you start surrounding yourself with healthier people, you're going to feel healthy. You're going to be inspired to be more healthy. And again, like the last one, is design a blueprint for where you want to get in life. Because when you create that blueprint, when you figure out where you want to get to, and you have this as a physical thing by writing it down and visualizing it and even drawing about it and writing about it and just involving yourself in it in that intense of a way, the things that don't serve that vision or serve that dream will no longer serve you, and you'll just intuitively not have to deal with them anymore. And all of these things will dramatically help with your confidence. So that's kind of an advanced kind of way that I personally philosophize, the way that I personally became more confident. Again, like surrounding myself with healthy, inspiring material rather than unhealthy people, taking the opinions of only people who are respected because of their status in their life, of what they're trying to achieve, and being able to apply it to my own. And again, like physically and mentally taking care of myself. That's how you do it. So that's it for that one. Lots, kind of a few new things to be released. Reopened my free private Facebook group, which is called The Way Toward Health Awakening Your Soul, which I post just lots of more spiritual stuff involved with that. You can follow me on Facebook. You can follow me on Instagram, which is Seraphic Wolf. You can follow my business, which is Seraphic Sound Spiritual Healing as well. Follow the podcast, which is the Redefining Spirituality Podcast. All of the links are below. I'm just trying to create as much content as I can these days, just because I love doing this and helping as many people as I can, and just sharing whatever knowledge that I've kind of developed over the years. So again, thank you for watching. My name is Brendan Van Witchen. and this is obviously the Seraphic Wolf channel. And yeah, hopefully click subscribe, maybe comment, like something. You're your own people. You can do whatever you want. But yeah, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. Peace.